Thank you, everybody, for joining tonight. I'm really excited to be talking at the Chatbot conference. My name is Pooja Mistry. I am a developer advocate with IBM, and I'm excited to talk to you a little bit about chatbots and using pre-built components, specifically webhooks and cloud functions, serverless cloud functions, and different APIs to make chatbots a lot more dynamic. So just so we can get started, today has been a big day about chatbots, and I know that a lot of people preceding me today have been talking about customer experience and getting the customer experience right. And this has been a challenge. Like, I just watched the UX panel before me, and I think this, they definitely reiterate that, you need a lot of research and design to make this piece work well. So, in general, we have customers that will back out of purchases due to poor customer experiences, and most contact centers their costs are related to personnel. So I'm sure everybody attending this conference knows the challenges of this. So before I dive deep into, how to mitigate this, or I know that a lot of my colleagues that have talked on this chatbot, on this conference before, have kind of talked about that a little bit. But I do want to introduce you a concept of a platform, which is IBM's Conversational AI Platform, which is called Watson Assistant. So Watson Assistant, it really is a platform that kind of combines all aspects of the conversational AI process. And it's a great tool for not only the receiving end of people who will be experiencing the conversation, but also for the developers that are building it, because it provides a one platform for doing voice agents as well as email, and building out a end-to-end dialogue, as well as using a lot of pre-built components such as Watson Discovery for dynamic data, and also having a one-stop shop to kind of connect to agents as well. So if you think of Watson Assistant as a platform, like a Watson AI platform, a conversational platform, it really allows you to do a lot of different things. And I'll be showing a little bit of a demo as we go forward. So I know that my slides are getting a little cut off, so I'm hoping that this might look better. So Watson Assistant it's really driven by intents, and it's not driven by rules. So the one big thing about Assistant is that the user's intent is what drives the entire conversation. And we've seen that, some examples of that. So if we were to look at an intent for the example of passwords, and saying that I forgot my password, how do I get a new password? These are the various different phrases that your user will say to kind of mean the same thing. And the one interesting thing about intents is that you can understand that the user's ask. You can also understand the key concepts within the user's ask that might lead you to a particular result. And then you can also understand the user's tone. So the NLP that Watson Assistant has working under the hood also leverages Tone Analyzer to understand the tone of that dialogue. But, the one thing that I wanted to talk to you guys today about is webhooks. So webhooks is a really great way to integrate and use some pre-built integrations to make your bot a lot more dynamic. And after this slide deck, I do want to show you an example of what that looks like. This is a really interesting feature that really allows you to have more dynamicness. You can work with different APIs and kind of build your bot in a more robust way. And the one other really great thing about building a Watson Assistant is that you can deploy it on any cloud, whether that's on-prem or whether that's on Amazon, Google, Microsoft. So it's actually kind of something that you can kind of deploy across different platforms, and it makes that as well very incredibly dynamic. So I want to, for those of you who are interested in just checking out Watson Assistant, you can definitely check it out and sign up for IBM Cloud. The one great thing about it is definitely you can use it and create a light service, which lets you build a bot in a pretty dynamic, easy way for free. And the bot that I'm going to talk to you guys today about is going to be the COVID crisis bot. So this bot is a project that my team and I, we created. So if you can see here, let me see if I can increase my screen size. So zoom in a little bit. Yeah. So I hope that zooms in. So I am happy to share this link with you all in the chat, because this is a great bot that we built, and I wanted to kind of share that with you, because if you're ever interested in actually going through this and building this yourself. So all the instructions for this bot should be available in the GitHub link. So I think I just shared that in the chat. And so what, our team, especially during this pandemic, we wanted to create a bot specifically for education purposes to kind of show how, Watson Assistant's capabilities of integrating with different endpoints, as well as, showing how we can create a bot specifically for this use case that's around this pandemic. So the way that we kind of did this is we went into within IBM Cloud, you can actually create a Watson Assistant service. So if you go to your catalog, and you can actually search for a assistant service here. So everything's moving a little bit slow today. And so and then this service actually is the platform that I mentioned that allows you to kind of integrate with different types of technologies and services to build something a lot more dynamic. And for those of you who are interested, you can definitely try this out for free. You can create a light service and create this bot, and you should be able to create this instance of Assistant. So once you have Watson Assistant running, I wanted to kind of walk through a little bit of what this bot looks like. So this is a bot that I have created before, and I want to kind of walk through this and show you guys how we use some pre-built components here. So in this bot, we have a thing called the dialog skill. And so the dialog skill is where we actually create the entire bot itself. So if I click on this, this is where the entire bot is being built. So I know that, this has been a chatbot conference. We have, a lot of people have talked about dialogues and building out robust dialogues. I wanted to show you specifically this dialog tree, because this is how a chatbot is designed, especially within the Watson Assistant platform. So the one interesting aspect of this is, let me see if, so on the top right of your hand corner, you can see this try it out panel, which allows you to try out your bot in real time while you are building this. So we have the things such as the user's intents, which basically we built the tree around the different intents that we found around the COVID crisis pandemic. So for example, the way we built this is we actually scraped an FAQ page and we built some of these intents just for educational purposes. And then, so what some of these intents might look like. So if we were to look in this example right here, so we have some examples for like the intent of critical businesses. We have examples of like, how do I find out if my business is considered essential? Things like that. So there are different examples of what a user might say to specifically ask about this particular subject. And when this particular subject is being asked about, it is actually linked to a dialogue node in this dialog tree. So let me give you an example of what that looks like. So if I were to, one second, if I were to ask the question about, let's see, what is, let's see if I can, what is coronavirus? So, this is a particular intent that is being mapped to a particular response. So, there are so many different intents that can be kind of asked and created. The example is to actually provide more than 5 so that your bot can be trained on that particular topic a little bit more. So in this example, we've kind of done a one-to-one mapping as a very simple example to show this particular aspect. But the couple of things that I wanted to show you that are a little bit dynamic are, let's see. So let me cancel out of this, is that we wanted to create a webhook to build a more dynamic application. And so the way that we did that is we actually created an IBM Cloud function. So an IBM Cloud function are basically serverless functions that allow you to build different APIs or connect with certain data. So we created a specific action. So an action is where you would be able to create your entire cloud function. And so in this particular action, we called this action COVID News, and we connected it with a few different APIs. So the one API that we connected it is Watson Discovery News. So Watson Discovery News allows us to get a lot of news articles, especially on the topic of this pandemic. And then we also used an open source COVID-19 API, and we integrated both these COVID-19 API as well as the Watson Discovery News to kind of get news articles and cases affected by, by location. So let me show you a little bit of what that looks like. Maybe I can show you through the code. So the first thing is we created a different state map. And so these are for US coordinates. And we also used the COVID-19 API to get a summary of what the amount of cases would look like in that state. And so the weather API we used specifically to get the state data, but we also tried to get what the total cases were as well as the total deaths. And after that, we also integrated with Watson Discovery. So we used this Watson Discovery API, and we basically outputted some news articles around this topic. So let me show you what that looks like before I show it to you what it looks like in the bot. So if we invoke this with parameters, we can actually put in some input. So let's call this API, and we'll say that the location is the United States of America. So you can do any country as well as any state to get the state and location data. And if you apply, you invoke this, you should be able to get the data back. And it takes a little bit of time to see that. But basically, what we wanted to do is we wanted to kind of get this all data together, and we wanted to kind of get the overall output of both the COVID-19 API as well as the Discovery API. So here we got some news articles that we are getting from Watson Discovery. So this is something that we can see what the news articles are. So let me see one more thing. So if I try New York, and that should work, and I select apply, I should get some data on what the how many cases have been affected as well. So Let's give it a few minutes here. All right, so awesome. So we are getting some total cases as well as what the source is, and this was from the New York Department of Health. So at this point, you might be asking, okay, so I created this serverless cloud function. How do I integrate it all and get it to work with my chatbot? So Watson Assistant makes it really easy to do that. So here we have created this webhook. Actually, let me go back and just show you. So the one thing, once you have this code created, and I recommend you all check out that GitHub link. It shows you step-by-step instructions on how to kind of get this all working along with the code. But once you have that working, you can actually create an endpoint. So this is a endpoint that you can use in multiple different applications. If you want to create some sort of web application, mobile application, if you need an endpoint, a serverless endpoint to kind of get some data from, you can use that. But we're also going to use this in our chatbot here. So we are going to connect this webhook to our chatbot, and within our dialog, we've actually created a couple of different nodes. So if you look at this node right here, so this node is called latest news on COVID-19. So once we have integrated this, we are going to be returning this variable called webhook result, and this is going to return some webhook result that is based on like the latest news around COVID-19. So this is mapped to a specific intent, news on COVID-19. So that means that the user is going to ask something along the lines of, what's in the news? So, or tell me more news about COVID. So let's try that out. So let's see what that looks like. And I'm going to clear this so you guys have a better view. But I'm going to just say what is in the news. And so it doesn't look very pretty here, but you can see that we have some news articles that it is giving me based on what it got from the webhook. So these are news articles that we got from Watson Discovery, which is Watson Discovery News, which is consistently being aggregated with a query on news data. And we are also planning to get some news articles in this application. And so this is how you kind of can connect these things. Let's try something a little bit about cases. So let's do how many cases. And you can see that it gives you a default cases of what the world cases are. And this is directly getting it from the COVID-19 API. And then if we want to get stats on a specific location, let's say yes. And then what location, country, US would you like stats for? So let's say New York. And we can get some data dynamically on some data on New York, that particular location as well. So I hope this kind of gives you an idea of how to build bots a little bit more dynamically. They don't have to be just one-to-one conversation. You can actually use some dynamic data that's constantly being populated with the use of serverless cloud functions. And the one really great feature that is probably one of my favorite features of this assistant is being able to integrate this. So I will show you something really interesting. So once you have your bot that's already well and done and you're happy with, you can actually integrate your bot in multiple different ways. So let's go back here. So there is a thing here called integrations. So we can, you can add an integration, and there's examples to integrate it via web chat, phone. You can use Twilio, Slack, Facebook Messenger, build all this specific integrations in one place. But the one interesting feature that I really like is this COVID-19 web chat feature. And so this allows you to customize your UI. So you can actually create this thing called a home page, and you can say, you can tell them like, what are the, the top things that, someone might ask, and you can set that home page up. And then basically being able to embed this, so you can customize it, you can create like a home screen, you can add some photos, you can add like some conversational starters. But the one feature I think that is really helpful for a lot of developers, especially front-end developers, is being able to embed this on any front-end website. So all you need is this JavaScript code. So if I just take this code and I copy it, I have a JavaScript editor somewhere. I should have it. Maybe. Let's see. Let me just look real quick. JavaScript editor. Okay, so let's look at this one. I think I had it up and I just closed it. Okay, awesome. So let's say this was your front end. We'll take away all this code and we'll get rid of it all, and we can just pop in our script and we can run the code, and you should see, if you click run code, you should see this little icon here. Oops, your phone went away. There we go. And you should see your chatbot. I'm having a little bit of network issue, but you should see that your chatbot is up and it's live. And this is a really great way to kind of deploy it on any website once you have it built within the Watson Assistant platform. So this should work as we designed it. So what's in the news? And it should give me some news data. And it's a little slow right now, but that's the overall idea. So kind of just show to building more dynamic bots. And so I think in conclusion, I just wanted to show the ability to build some more dynamic bots, and I hope that gives you some idea there. So thank you so much. I appreciate everybody's your time today. Thank you.
Hey, hi Pooja.
Hey, Stephen. I don't know if I got cut off a little bit there, but
So yeah, why don't you? We have a couple of more minutes. Do you want to finish it off real quick, or do you want to go to questions? And I saw you.
sure. Yeah,
Go ahead.
I don't know if I got cut off a little bit there, or if I was able to show my demo a little bit, but I hope everyone kind of got an idea of how to build some more dynamic bots using serverless web cloud functions and building them a little bit more dynamically. So I'd love to take some questions if
Let's
that's
do that.
available.
And then after this, we're going to have our last session. So let's see. I'm looking through here. People are saying thank you very much. They really like your presentation. And I'm looking for a question. Do you guys have any? So can we engage IBM Watson to build a customized enterprise-level chatbot for customer engagement lead generation?
Oh, definitely. I think so. This is an end-to-end platform. You can use this for, IBM mostly builds this for enterprise level applications. So especially in that use case, you can 100% use that Watson Assistant to do that. And there's also, voice enablement and a lot of different features that kind of let that bot be a lot more dynamic there as well.
I see. And Laura asked, does this integrate with Bot Society? Can you use one of these other third-party design tools and export to Watson? I think there might be a tool for them, but you might know.
Yeah, I'm curious about that. Even I want to kind of go back and check that out. I'm sure you can, because we can provide custom integrations. There's an option to do that, so you can definitely do that for sure.
Got it. And two more things. One is, Can you show the URL for playing around? Maybe you can drop it in the chat.
Yeah, for sure. So to play around, you actually just need to sign up for IBM Cloud. So if I just drop this in the chat, and if you check out the COVID Crisis Bot Lab, you can actually follow my example there and kind of play around with it and see if you can build the same COVID Crisis Bot if you can. So,
and what's the difference between skills and components, Laura asked?
So skills is where the bot is actually being made. And so that is what you can export as a JSON. And you can also import if you decide to create your own like JSON dialog somewhere else. So that's what the skill is. Components are the little pieces within, like, such as the intents, the entities that you can actually use to build up your bot as well. So, yeah.
Got it. And let's do one last one.
Sure.
And that is it possible to reform Webhook payloads to show only partial info in the chatbot?
Definitely. So you can actually, it's all how you decide to build your webhook. The way that I showed today, I actually combined 3 different APIs to show data. So I had a COVID API as well as a news API. And then I used like a weather API as well. So whereas if you can kind of build them a little bit separately, I just really wanted to show that you can use multiple different pieces of data to kind of build something a little bit more dynamic.
That's very cool. So if people want to follow up with you, I'm sure they can do that in the chat. And then what's another good way for them to reach out to you?
So I'm on Twitter, so feel free to follow me on Twitter. I'm also really responsive there, so you can definitely message me there. And, you know, feel free to check out our code patterns and our code, because that's where we do a lot of our work and we share a lot of this content. And this is completely open source, so feel free to check it out and see if you want to make any updates and contribute as well. So thank you.
Perfect.